Hello everyone and welcome to Coffee with Ceri. I'm Ceri Griffiths, or Ceri the Crafter as some of you know me, and this is where I just sit down with a cup of coffee for a little while and have a chat about a subject that's maybe piqued my interest, caught my attention, maybe through day-to-day life conversations, maybe social media, however it's risen in my consciousness. I basically will sit down and have a chat from my personal viewpoint, from what I think or have found from it, not meaning to offend anyone. Try not to choose topics that are confrontational because that's not who I am. Just basically having a conversation, maybe raising awareness on a subject, maybe starting a conversation that you might have with someone else, or maybe just making you pause and have a cup of coffee and a thought about it yourself. So today, basically, I want to talk about virtual learning or learning online. Now, many years ago, I was actually headhunted by a company who wanted me to teach cake decoration and design classes on the internet. So I filmed two of these with them. I signed the contract, filmed two of them with it. What was the company? It was a company called craftsy.com, and their platform was a very wide platform of lots of different professionals and enthusiasts. And I made classes which were then broken up into chapters, which then went on to their website. And then the public would actually buy membership of that website and then have access to all of the classes, and I would then receive a royalty or a commission for everyone who actually purchased membership driven by my classes. And also then it developed into they had an algorithm where they could see how many minutes or hours of my lessons had been actually watched, and then I would be paid in respect to how long people had watched my classes. So at the time, I thought it was a really good thing. I signed up. I did two classes with them. We filmed them. They were very successful. And then over time, that company was bought out by another company. Can't remember who it was. It might even have been Skillshare, to be honest, who then took on that platform and then continued with the way it was doing. And then when my contract came to an end, they wanted me to renew. I said no. One of the reasons I said no was I found virtual learning and teaching very difficult, which is why there are very few classes online from me. Now, I'm not talking about YouTube. YouTube for me is just sharing skills, sharing experiences, sharing hints and tips with people. It's about me opening myself up to being artistically challenged and experimental and sharing the outcome with you guys. And I like that because there's no expectation, there's no agenda, there's no list of things that have to be achieved. I'm literally taking you along on the journey with me as I discover my own artistic journey. I like to have you along with me because maybe something I'm learning will help you learn something. So I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about structured online learning. Now, I chose not to do any more classes via the internet. And I know that when the pandemic hit, a lot of tutors immediately went to the internet and started teaching via the internet, because what they wanted was to keep the income coming in, and people were stuck at home and they couldn't go out and they couldn't go to classes or workshops because it wasn't safe. And so a lot of tutors survived by the fact that people subscribed or purchased their classes, and that's really important, and that was good. Some of the classes were better quality than others. Some of the tutors adapted very well. Some of the tutors did not adapt very well. I chose not to do it for several reasons. Now, the lessons I was teaching were cake decoration and design skills. And for me, I didn't like the fact that once I had taught that class, that was it. I was never allowed to teach it again. That class was the property of the people who owned that class, and they could sell it to students, or eventually they could choose to give it away if they felt they wanted to. So for me, I could never teach the topics within that again. Oh, I did teach something else too. Yes, it was an online school called Cakeflix, which I taught a few tutorials for them too. But again, once I taught that topic or that subject or that project, I was never allowed to teach it again. Whereas if I developed a class, like there was one class I used to teach years ago called My Signature Rose, and it was where I made a full-size rose about the size of my hand out of sugar. It used to be a one-day class. I sold that class out so many times. So many times. Like every time I advertised that class, it sold out. And it was such a breadwinner of class. It just was an amazing class. However, if I'd have done that as an online class, I would have done it once, and I would have never been able to teach it again. The other thing for me is I work best when I'm teaching if I have a student in front of me. I don't feel that I'm able to help, support, encourage, and bolster a student's confidence if all they're getting from me is a pre-recorded me on a screen. I like to be there, and I will say to a student, show me what you're doing. Not intending to intimidate them, far from it. But what I want is to see how they're holding the hand. Maybe the consistency of what they're using. Maybe consistency of paint, or consistency of icing, or consistency of batter for a cake. I want to look them in the eyes and know that they fully understand and not going, oh yeah, it's fine, I got that, when actually they haven't got it. They're just saying that because they're embarrassed to be asking again. I like face-to-face teaching. I think it's a much more valid way to actually teach, because I can truly moderate the speed and the learning experience of an individual student within classes to make sure that they get the most out of it that they can possibly get out of it. Now, there are caveats to all this conversation. You may not financially be in a position to take a class with an artist or a cake decorator or a potter or a stained glass person. You may not have the finances to actually go and do that class, but you've got enough finances to buy an online class. Totally fine. If that's the only avenue you've got, that's fine. Location-wise, you may never have an expert in your area. You may live in the middle of nowhere, and to actually go and do a class is going to cost you more than a family holiday. Again, then online is the right thing. But for me personally, I chose not to teach online. And it wasn't just the experience for the student, it was the experience for me also. I took a lot of joy from seeing the light bulb go on above a student's head, from seeing the look on their face at the end of maybe a 3-day workshop, and they go, I never would have believed I could have done that. And I've gone, but you can, you've just done it. And some of my students over the years have gone on to run successful businesses and to actually have become somewhere in their world of artistry. I'm obviously not the only reason. There's more than me as a contributing factor, but I've been one of the stepping stones that person has taken to maybe writing their first book, maybe having their first TV show. And that's wonderful to sit back and look at one of your students and go, you know what? I always knew they could do it, and they did it. And you've just been there to maybe you said one word of encouragement. Maybe you showed them one trick of the trade, and that was the moment when everything happened for them. Who knows? Who knows? It's just, but for me personally, seeing those smiling faces when they walk out of a classroom or a workshop, and I know that I've done my job and I've done it as well as I can do it, that I can't get that online. I know you can do webinars. I know you can do live learning, so you do have the tutor there, but that doesn't mean I can actually see what you're doing and understand exactly what you're doing, because we're all going through technology. So yes, so for me, I didn't go down that route. There are lots and lots of people who enjoy online learning. and I would never take it away from anyone, because it is definitely, it's a very economical way sometimes to actually learn something, because with a lot of these things like I think I mentioned Skillshare. So as long as you keep your membership going, you have access to all of the classes to watch as many times as you want, and stop and start and pause and all of that, which you can't do in a live class, obviously. Some people learn in different ways. Like, if you gave me an instruction booklet, I would just go, what? If you show me, I've usually got it within one go. And we all learn very differently. I'm definitely a visual learner. Show me something, I understand it. Make me read about it, I haven't got a clue. And when you're watching something on a video, even when I'm watching a YouTube, if someone is trying to teach something in a YouTube, I will often pause it, rewind it and go, what did that person say? Or make notes or something, just so I fully understand it. So do you enjoy online learning? I know that lots of you do. Do some of you hate online learning? Do some of you actually mourn the fact that some of the tutors that in pandemic went to online learning have never returned to face-to-face teaching again? And there are quite a few people actually who I know that have actually, now they've got comfortable with learning online, teaching online, have never gone back. And I think that's very sad. I really do, because I love being a student. It's not very often I get a chance to be in a classroom, because here in South Wales, I don't feel that we attract the skills and the artistry that I personally am eager to learn. Although I'd quite happily go on a craft workshop, an art workshop for a week-long retreat or something. I would love to do something like that. But I've never yet found something that I've looked at and gone, oh, I'd really, really love to do that. I mean, there were a couple of ones. Before pandemic, I was really considering, there was a sculpting class that was going on in the south of England. And I think it was either 4 or 5 days long. And it was a residency. So you could go along and you would learn one of two avenues. One would be sculpting the human figure, and this is from clay. And the other one would be sculpting animals. And you would do the week course, and you would learn everything from understanding skeletons and muscles and how to quickly draw and capture shapes, to then building armatures for the inside of these models, then making the models and firing them or baking them. I don't know whether they went on as far as painting, but there was textures and everything. It was a full immersion of understanding from zero to hero, as far as getting your skills up to speed, because you were doing like 8 or 9 hours a day at this, and I really wanted to do that. And then guess what? Pandemic hit, and I don't even know whether that class even exists anymore, but something like that I would love to do, but never mind. So anyway, online learning, love it or hate it, it's definitely here to stay. There are a huge amount of benefits from it for students. I personally, as a teacher, I want to see your face. I want to look at you. I want to see what you're producing. I want to be in a classroom with you. I don't want to be on your computer. So, except for YouTube, of course, because I enjoy doing YouTube. I do it at my own pace. I edit it. I structure it. I never set something up to be a tutorial, to be a lesson. I set up things that I'm actually sharing and enjoying, and my finds and just stuff. Well, stuff like this, actually. Coffee with carrot. So, okay, I think that's enough for me chawing on today. So, until next time, guys, have a good time. Let me know in the comments what you think about online learning. I mean, I'm interested. I'm not thinking about doing it. I can tell you, no, I'm not doing it unless it was something, a one-off spectacular project that I could never miss. It's very unlikely I'm ever going to be doing structured tutoring online. So, okay, until next time, guys. Bye-bye now.